So I was gonna film an intro and tell you what we were doing today, but you know what? It's bloody cold this morning. So I'm just gonna get in the plane, fire it up, get the heat going, and we'll talk about it once we're in the air.
Offshore ground, this is Foxtrot Mike Victor Uniform at Tango 1.
Foxtrot Mike Victor Uniform, offshore ground.
Offshore ground, Foxtrot Mike Victor Uniform requesting taxi to the main apron for run-up.
Mike Victor Uniform ground, taxi Delta main apron.
Delta main apron, Mike Victor Uniform.
No longer have a key switch to check the mags. I now have toggle switches, mag 1, mag 2, or mag 1, which is the mag, and then the EMAG. And so when I turn off the old magneto, there's zero change in the RPM. You no longer get an RPM drop. The electronic magneto is more than adequate to run the aircraft. It's giving a stronger spark, a longer spark, and it's actually double sparking on the power stroke and the exhaust stroke.
Offshore ground, this is Foxtrot Mike Victor Uniform.
Foxtrot Mike Victor Uniform, offshore ground.
Offshore ground, Foxtrot Mike Victor Uniform, Cessna 172 with information Echo requesting taxi to the active on a VFR flight plan eastbound to Cornwall at 5,500.
Foxtrot Mike Victor Uniform, offshore ground, runway 05, wind 040 at 6, altimeter 3046. Taxi via Alpha, Charlie, hold short, runway 12, squawk 5372.
Squawk 5372, taxi Alpha, Charlie, hold short 12, Mike Victor Uniform.
Foxtrot Mike Victor Uniform, ground, taxi Alpha, Charlie, cross, runway 12. Contact tower 120.1, holding short, runway 05.
Alpha, Charlie, cross 12, contact tower, holding short 05, Mike Victor Uniform. Offshore tower, Foxtrot, Mike Victor Uniform, holding short 05 on Charlie for takeoff.
Mike Victor Uniform, tower, line up and wait, runway 05. I will be departing traffic on 12 prior to your departure.
Line up and wait 05, Mike Victor Uniform.
Theory Yankee Tower, a right-hand circuit. Keep the circuit as tight as possible, please. Wind is 0705, clear takeoff runway 12.
Right-hand circuit, we'll keep it as tight as possible, clear takeoff 12 for India Theory Yankee.
Uniform Hotel, exit left down at Delta, and ground is 1184.
Taxi left on Delta, contact ground, Uniform Hotel.
Mike Victor Uniform Tower, right-hand turnout eastbound, report leaving the control zone or passing through 3,000 feet, the wind 0705, clear takeoff runway 05.
Cleared 05, report leaving the zone, Mike Victor Uniform.
Okay, full throttle, and off we go. Everything's in the green, everything's good, airspeed's alive. Okay, so we're still on the climb out. The big thing I want to do on this flight is make note of all of the numbers. We put in an electronic ignition system. We put in the ElectroAir electronic ignition system, and that's going to change some of my performance numbers in terms of fuel burn, etc., etc., etc. So on the climb out, full throttle, I'm looking at 10.7 gallons per hour. And so I need to make note of this information to amend my numbers in ForeFlight for flight planning, fuel burn during flight planning. So I need to keep track of all this stuff and see how much it changes. That 10.6, 10.7 number that I'm seeing, not much of a change. There'll be a little bit of change in the fuel burn, I think, based on a flight that I did from Edenville back to Oshawa after installing. The big reasons for adding an electronic ignition system for me were the old style magnetos that I had on this engine were made by Case Tractor Corporation. Case no longer makes magnetos. Parts are getting scarce. If they ever had to be repaired, big game over. I'd have to buy new magnetos, and I'd have to switch to electronic at that point anyway. So the idea was be proactive and switch it out. And then down the list is, I should expect around a gallon per hour less fuel burn. And that's what I'm looking at on this flight, is we're going to fly 2 hours east and then 2 hours back. I'm going to check my a couple of different power settings and see what my fuel burn actually is at different power settings at my regular sort of flying altitudes. And we'll see if there's much change, and then I can make note of that in flight. So we're going to Cornwall today.
En route traffic in the Rice Lake area. This is Foxtrot Mike Victor Uniform, currently 5,500 feet above the town of Bewdley, heading eastbound on the south shore of Rice Lake at 5,500. Mike Victor Uniform.
So right now I'm at 5,500 feet. I'm running at 2,400 RPM, and my fuel burn is 7 gallons an hour, and my true airspeed is 111 miles per hour. Up to this point, I've been using 2,300 as my cruise RPM, and there I was getting, around 7.5 gallons per hour. At 2,400, this is lean. I'm just slightly lean of peak, and at 2,400, I was using just around 8 gallons per hour. That is Long Island in Rice Lake. I grew up on that island. I really did. My grandfather bought that in the 1950s, and he had a fishing lodge on the shore of the lake, and he bought the island because it had a big old stone farmhouse on it, and he was going to use that as a fishing lodge. And then the stone farmhouse burnt down, and he moved on from that idea to building cottage lots. And so I spent all of my summers there, from the time school got out until the time school started again in September, on that island, running wild. And as I got older, helping with building the cottages a little bit. Pretty much every summer until I was 16 and had a driver's license, I spent every waking hour on that island, every sleeping hour on that island, from school's out till school went back in. And then we would go there in the wintertime too. I haven't been there in 20 years. So I download all the data from the dynon after the end of every flight, and I input that into Savvy Aviation, and I track there all of the parameters. And that's how I know that, one of my cylinders has been running a little hot, although Chris worked a little bit of magic. We won't talk about that yet. Worked a little bit of magic, and I've noticed that the cylinder that's always given me trouble is actually not at this point. I also put my flights into CloudAhoy, and I look at it there. So I'm tracking all of the data, and over the next month of flights, it'll come out whether we're actually saving any fuel. I expect that we are, but the biggies really are that double spark, that fuel scavenging on the exhaust stroke, which also cleans up your cylinders a little bit. We borescoped all the cylinders, and we looked at the top of every piston, and there's a little bit of garbage on the top of the pistons that builds up. This second spark on the exhaust stroke will clean that up. So we'll look at that in 3 or 4 hours and see if that worked out as well. Reliability and cost savings over time. I've never flown down this way with you. What you see in front of you is a mishmash of, some of it's Canada, to the left is mostly Canada, and to the right is mostly the United States. But down the center of this river, thousands of islands. I mean, it is called the Thousand Island area anyway. And the border kind of snakes back and forth. Some islands are in Canada, some islands are in the United States. And in some places the water is, like maybe 40 feet between Canada and the United States. I'm going to stay to the left side of the river. We're going to follow essentially the Highway 401 the rest of the way.
Information trafic pour propagation 230, mais l'évent en information 015 nautiques à l'ouest des installations de l'Atlantique en direction de Cessna.
The farther east we go, the more French you're going to hear on the radio. I also owe you an update on the Trio Autopilot. It's engaged right now. As I expected, I get basic functionality from it right now. The last week when we were put in the EIS, Chris and I slipped in something called an AirInc module from Dynon. It's all ready. Dynon is finishing up some software, a new firmware update for the Dynon system that will finally bring full integration with the Trio, and then we just hook into the AirInc module.
This is Golf Kilo here at Kilo 3500, just passing the town of Algonquin, tracking towards...
And so once that firmware update comes, we'll connect to the AirInc unit. It's 2 wires, really simple. In fact, we've already made up the D-sub connector. We just have to plug it into the AirInc module. And once that happens, I'll have full functionality between the Trio and the Dynon, and I can set up my flight plan here on ForeFlight. It goes to Dynon, Dynon talks to Trio, and everything happens seamless. But right now, it holds track, it holds altitude, it pretty much does the functionality of more or less what I need it to do. On a flight like this where I'm flying, it looked like it was going to be 2.5 hours. Between 2 and 2.5 hours. Just holding track and holding altitude allows me to eat my lunch, drink some tea, decide what's going on around me. So as soon as that update is finished, I promise a full video where we run through the full functionality of the Trio.
Cornwall traffic, this is Cessna 172, Foxtrot Mike Victor Uniform, currently overhead the town of Cornwall, inbound for landing, intending to join the left downwind runway 28, full stop, Cornwall traffic.
Stay your position again, Golf Kilo India Charlie.
Currently overhead the town of Cornwall at 2,400, Mike Victor Uniform. Cornwall traffic, Mike Victor Uniform, putting base runway 28.
Cornwall traffic, this is Lima Romeo Sierra on the apron, taxiing Alpha, holding short of runway 28.
Traffic, Golf Tango Foxtrot is clear the circuit, climbing 3,000 towards Lancaster. Aircraft on base, do you exit on Bravo or Alpha?
Main apron, I guess that's Alpha.
Yeah, it's Alpha.
Cornwall traffic, Mike Victor Uniform, putting base to final, runway 28, full stop. Cornwall traffic, Mike Victor Uniform, exiting 28 onto Alpha, Cornwall.
So here we are at Cornwall Airport. Single runway, but very busy. A lot of hangars, and fuel is actually cheaper than it is at Oshawa where I took off. So I've just fueled up Mike Victor Uniform. I'm gonna head inside. I'm gonna get something sweet. It's a little bit chilly. In fact, it's bloody cold. or at least it feels really cold. I guess it's because it's early in the season. I'm not used to it yet. And then we'll get back to Oshawa.
Cornwall traffic, Foxtrot Mike Victor Uniform holding short 28 on Alpha for takeoff. Cornwall traffic, Mike Victor Uniform entering runway 28 from Alpha for takeoff.
Traffic over the Tango Foxtrot turning left downwind runway 28, full stop.
Cornwall traffic, Foxtrot Mike Victor Uniform rolling on runway 28, takeoff, Mike Victor Uniform.
Golf Golf X-ray Papa turning final, runway 28 for the stop.
Everything's alive. Everything's good. We're off.
Cornwall traffic, Foxtrot Mike Victor Uniform departing to the west, 2,200 and climbing. Switching to 126.7, Cornwall traffic. Oshawa Tower, Foxtrot Mike Victor Uniform.
So Mike Victor Uniform, Oshawa Tower.
Oshawa Tower, Mike Victor Uniform is a Cessna 172 with information kilo currently at 6,500 feet above Moseport, inbound for landing, last departed Cornwall.
Mike Victor Uniform, Tower, runway 12, altimeter 3045, cleared left downwind, not below 2,000 feet until advised.
Left downwind, not below 2,500 until advised. Mike Victor Uniform.
Mike Victor Uniform, Tower, your altitude restriction is canceled. Report established on the downwind.
Report established on left downwind runway 12, Mike Victor Uniform.
Approaching minimums.
Mike Victor Uniform, Tower, what's your current position and altitude?
1,600 feet and currently about 2 miles back.
Victor Uniform, Tower, roger, continuing.
Mike Victor Uniform established left downwind runway 12.
Mike Victor Uniform, Tower number 1. Zulu Delta Tower, turn downwind now.
Downwind, still negative on the traffic, off Zulu Delta.
Zulu Delta Tower, your traffic to follow is about to turn left base.
Zulu Delta, thank you.
Mike Victor Uniform, Tower, clear to land, runway 12.
Cleared 12, Mike Victor Uniform.
Oshawa Tower, Bravo Lima, Quebec, with the base.
Lima, Quebec Tower, continue number 2.
Number 2, Bravo Lima, Quebec.
Papa Romeo Tower number 4 follows, Cessna joining the left downwind from the north.
Number 4, have the traffic in sight.
Mike Victor Uniform Tower, exit left Charlie, contact ground 118.41 off.
Left on Charlie, contact ground 1 off, Mike Victor Uniform.
2 legs, almost 5 hours. I'm going to fill up again when I get to the hangar, have the fuel truck come over, fill us up again to the top, and then I'm going to go home and crunch some numbers, and I'll start putting the numbers up on the screen beside me. Just to get a bit of an idea of what our fuel burn was on this first long trip with the new electronic ignition. Thing works flawlessly. I'm really happy with it. I think it was the right move for this airplane at the right time. I think that, magnetos are a proven rock-solid technology, to be sure. But they do have their problems, and it's about time that, aircraft engines sort of moved with the times. And the fact that, something was hanging off this aircraft that was, first discovered in the 1800s. I'm not really sure the dates. But the one that was on this plane was probably designed in the 1940s. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.